Okay, I'm back with you. Got the battery changed. Where was I? I'll squirt a little on the outside of this to make it just a little. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but get this down inside here. So, here's the key to this thing. You gotta get on this side of the bar, and then you just kind of pull it on around. Push that down in the valley. And there it is. She's on. Pull your yellow thing out. Get it off here. Wipe the goop off. Clean that rim up nice. What the heck. Okay, I'll put my valve stem back in, although some people say pump it up without it first. Makes the tire bead better. These Bridgestones should bead up pretty good. Got tight. Put a little air in it. Woohoo! There she goes. How much pressure we got? 24.5. We'll get her for 33. Where I like them. Make sure you're on PSI. You don't blow yourself up. 28. Because you made a good point last night that 50% of evangelicals didn't turn out in 2012. And I don't know. That is, I think, a big question. 34. Close enough. I'll check them before I go out. So the front tire's there. We just got to balance it now. Stick it back on. Valve caps on. I got one of these handy dandy balancers. Drew turned me on to these little screw knobs. They work good. Make sure your spacers are out when you do this. Alright, so you set it on there. See if you can find a heavy spot. I can see there is one already, so. But I can tell you right now, it's not very bad. I think a 10 is going to be more than enough on there. But you can see it settling back down. That's probably about the heavy spot, somewhere in here. It'll settle to the bottom. And there it is. So you just put a little weight on the opposite side. I like to use a wooden handle here. Don't mar up your finish. Got that 10 weight back on there that I took off. Let's see. It should just, oh look how dirty that is.
it should just slowly come to a stop and not really stop at the same place anytime you give it a little turn. It's gonna, as you can tell right now, since it turns backwards, that it's still a little heavy on that side. But you know what? It's close enough on this particular one. Clean this rim up nice while it's off, makes it a little easier. Nice to have clean stuff. Gotta have the clean stuff. These are my A-rims. I got some other wheels with Chinese. I bought some Chinese rotors. I don't like them as much. I glazed them over. I sanded them down today. Hopefully that fixes it. Okay, well, we'll put that over there for now. I'll go ahead and change out the back one too. You know what? Take off my weight without scratching.
Fisher Investments isn't a mutual fund, and we don't have hidden fees. Do you own an annuity? Your broker may have made a commission of 8% or more and sold it. Are you sure he had your best interests in mind? At Fisher Investments, we're not brokers. We don't earn commissions on trades.
Yeah, the weight actually made a couple of marks in it, but
Our model is your portfolio.
pull your valve cover out. Take your little cap off.
Fisher Investments difference. Call the number on your screen now. We'll send you our free DVD, Investing Secrets for 20.
This every time.
609-7700. 1-800-609-7700.
Welcome back to Hannity's Solutions. In a message to the Iranian people, President Obama praised Iran's supreme leader for his commitment not to build a nuclear weapon. All the goodwill does not appear to be mutual because on Saturday, the supreme leader, he called for death to America. Oh, really? Watch this. Four steps to America. Joining us now, Fox News strategic analyst Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters from the Heritage Foundation. We have now Gardner with us. Colonel Peters, I can't fathom how we are in this.
Both sides broke loose.
On the very same day that John Kerry is making a proposal, we're right on the verge of a deal. The president talks to the Iranian people, and the guy who's making a deal is talking about not to America.
Yeah. Get those down in your slots and lock it in. There we go. Get your dealio. All the yellow thing.
This is the one, and the president, Sean, who told us that Islamic State may be. Putin was in retreat. Yemen was a success story. This is a White House lying to the American people, calling our enemies. And you know, right now, our enemies do not have the president.
Lock it in place.
And the people of Israel do.
Give it a little spin. Pops right out. Bob's your uncle. Ah, you bastard. These Dunlops are the ones that... There we go. These Dunlops are harder than most tires. I just don't like them. Oh, did I mar it with an Omar? Uh-oh. I might have marred it a little bit. You're not supposed to do that. Oh, I marred it. Get rid of that piece of crap. Clean this up good. You know it works though on black rims. It's a little secret on black rims if you do mar it. Which, if you don't use Dunlops, there's a good chance you won't ever mar it. But, see one of these old doobers, Sharpie? Look at this.
Well, they're huge differences. At the end of the day, the Soviet leaders didn't want to die. They were rational. You're dealing now with an Iranian leadership.
Oh, good as new. Huh. Look at that. It's not marred. And you do the same thing that we did with the front here. You smear some goop on there. Hope nobody from Nomar watches this because they'd be mad at me for calling it goop, I guess. Spread it in your valley. Makes the bead of the tire move around pretty easy. But you don't want to get any on the inside lip here because you want that to seal well, and also you don't want your rim to spin inside your tire because it's slippery. So you want that to be good and grippy. I'll put just a little bit from 10 to 2 on the outside here. Although I go more than 10 to 2. Wipe your hand off. Oh, which way does that spin? So this one spins this way. Where's the arrow? There it is, that way. Yeah, that's right. So I put a little on the back side here. That helps the tire slip on. And it also, this is not, that won't cause it to slip on the rim because this is not the part that touches the rim on the back side. Alright. There's the dot. Heavy spot. So this should slip right on there like that. And you know, a lot of times with Michelin's I can just slip this on without having to use the machine. But since I spent all this money on the machine, I'll go ahead and use the machine. Put a little there just to make that spin a little better. Get back here.
Are you considering shoulder research? Pay close attention, because this device, the little curve, is helping people from invasive surgery.
Bob's your uncle. Don't need any more of that stuff. Put the lid back on.
It's similar to technologies used in clinics across the country, except you can use
The yellow thingy out of there.
simply put it on the peripheral area, push a button, and let the device do your thing. When I first heard about the system, when I started really realizing that people would use the peripheral
Turn the tire on the rim there. Line that up good.
you really have to experience it to believe it, and you can with words.
Air chuck. Oh, before I do that, you want to dismount it off of this Nomar here. Put the valve core back in.
This year, we heard the City Council had made some changes as a result of this program in order to curb some of the out-of-control partying. So we sent Ainsley back to see what effect, if any, these new...
Let's go ahead and air it up. Close enough. All right. Balance this one. Put the valve core on. Again, spacers and cush drag must be out. Same thing. So theoretically, if that yellow dot was matched with your valve stem and that really was the heavy light spot, then it would always balance with that at the top or the bottom, right? That's really heavy too. Slow it down. And as you can see, it's off to the side. The rim's obviously not balanced at the valve stem. So that's a bunch of hork and malarkey. Right about there. I'll put a 20 on it and see what she looks like. Snapped in there. I don't think 20 is going to be enough, is it? Not even close. You know what else I should do? Let me wipe off the lube. It's not that heavy, but...
So, one thing we can't show is that our cameras were there, and many girls were exposing themselves, thinking this is like Girls Gone Wild.
In fact, right before I came on set, we had to cut something out of the story because we felt we made a judgment call that it might be a little too explicit. There was a lot that we could have shown.
I'll put some more. Put some more. Some more weight. It's not balanced good enough for my liking. I'll put another 20 on there. Let's make it 40.
The police were telling us there's now heroin on the beach. We saw a guy get arrested for a big bag of Molly. We saw a guy get arrested with a big bag of marijuana. This guy on the beach, I was smelling marijuana and talking to him. I looked down and he started doing his thing. Molly's a huge drug, and this is a big problem. Drug dealers know arrested on the drug test. So they're changing molecules in drugs and then selling them
Well,
to.
it's funny because the mayor came out and they knew we were coming down.
Ooh, I think that's going to be pretty close. It looks like it's nice and smooth. It's not slowing down irregularly.
Access to a council member, and we went out with the sheriff for a ride.
Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Perfect. I like that. I'm going to leave it just like that. Tires are balanced. Just got to stick them back on. Put my stuff away and get it later. Alright, so put your cush drive back in. Oh, one thing you want to look at. Let me pull this back out. Oh, look at, see, good thing I did. Bearing. So, see how that bearing slips in there? You want to make sure that inner bearing's in there. And you want to push this in there, wiggle it and wiggle it and wiggle it until it's absolutely as far in as you can get it. Pretty good. Now's a good time to clean stuff up. You know, you always want to check, make sure you got plenty of lube in your bearings too. It's a good idea to put a little lube in there. I have mine off so much, I don't have to lube it every time. But there we go. We'll just go backwards to what we did. Slip that in there. Put our what I should have done. I can do that right now. Let me just wipe this off. There we go. Same with this. Stick that in there. Now, put your chain on. Just like that. Put your caliper back in. And slip it onto the little ledge in there. Alright, come on. What am I doing? I think there she goes. Come on. There it goes. Make sure you got plenty of space on your brake pads there. You get that caliper in there and lined up right, this should be pretty easy. Now, my ZX6s are easier than this. I usually start the left side in first. I lift it with my left hand. Oh, look at that. Oh. Well, I got it in there, but I didn't get my spacer. Gotta let her drop back down. There we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, I see the problem. She's cockeyed. Come on, spacer's caught. There we go. Come on. Come on. Huh. You know, it's usually not this hard. And I might not have got that push drive in all the way, like I told you to do at the beginning. Ah, there it goes. There she is. Give it a quick look. Make sure you got one pad on each side there, like you should have. Don't get no goop on your rotor, like I probably just did. Put your spacers in. Start these and get it just not even finger tight. Just get it on there. And then make sure that rim's all the way forward. What I do is I grab onto my chain here, and I also reach my thumb around the swing arm, and I just pull that tight, and that pulls the wheel forward, right up against the locking, your adjustment screws. Then, while you're holding that chain tight, you tighten down your lock nut to the appropriate torque. And I have a calibrated elbow, so I know exactly what to torque it to. There's the rear. One important thing a lot of people forget is you want to pump up your rear brake. So just give it a couple of pumps, give it a spin, make sure it's stopping the wheel when you hit it. Otherwise you take off down the road, the first time you hit the brake, it doesn't work. So the rear's done. Put the front in. Alright. Here's your speed sensor ring. Goes on this side. That's where the speed sensor is. If you put it in backwards, you're not going to have any traction control. Probably get a light is what you'll get when you try to take off. The engine won't run right. And your ABS won't work if you have ABS. I don't have ABS. So now what I usually do is I put my hands under each rotor. I hold the spacers with my thumbs and it slips right up in there just like butter. And goes right in. Give it a little turn this way. Put my fancy ratchet. Torque this to the appropriate torque. Look up in your book, see what that is. Don't tighten your pitch bolt yet. You want to put your brake rotors on next. I mean your calipers. Again, without scratching your paint on your rims. Come on. Get in there. What are you doing? Oh, there they go. Caliper bolts should be torqued as well. I'm not going to tell you what that is. Look in the service manual. Service manual is your friend. All right. Okay, leave that here. Put the right side caliper on. Hopefully this one slips in a little easier than that last one did. There she goes. Torque these caliper bolts down. Oh, sorry for banging that. Ooh, look at how far my suspension was going at the track. Slip my zip tie back up. Pallet's kind of rough. Makes your suspension work. Okay, calipers are both torqued. The only thing that we don't have tight yet are those pinch bolts. But what you want to do before you tighten those pinch bolts is get your suspension neutral on the axle. Basically each fork slides back and forth on the axle, and there should be no tension on them, you know, in or out, otherwise those fork tubes will bind. And you can drop it off the stand, hold the brake, and pump your forks. That'll neutralize it. Or you can cause a lot of vibration by pumping up your brake pads, or your brakes, like that, with my brake lever up here. And then give the wheel a spin, and lock it. Give it a good hard spin, and try it both ways. It'll cause that fork little vibration, plus make sure your brakes work. And that should neutralize your suspension a little bit on that axle. And you can tighten down your pinch bolts to the proper torque, of course. And again, that's in your service manual. Download that from ZX10R.net or buy one. I had I bought about 75 bucks for the manual. I had bought one for my 650. It's nice to have, but I always found out I use the electronic version anyway. It's just easier to search for stuff. It's PDF. So there you have it. Wheels are on. We've changed them out. Just got to clean up the shop and go for a ride when it quits raining. It's ready for a Bixby run. Alright, that's it. There she is, boys.